All right, welcome back to the Will Reads for another book review. Coming right at you guys. And this time we switched over to sci fi and decided to review Leviathan Wakes, which is the first book in the Expanse series. I'm going to continue going through in the first part of this video and rank through the different elements that my crazy matrix I came up with to talk about those different points without any spoilers at all. And then we'll take a quick break, do a little screen, some music, and then come back for a more spoilery, you know, content. So give a shout out really quick to one of our patrons, Jake. He's the one who actually wrote me into doing this and reading this book. I've seen all the Expanse TV shows before. I never read the books. I was just looking through Amazon Prime for things to watch, and the Expanse was recommended, and I absolutely love the TV show. So I was a little nervous that the book was going to ruin the TV show for me. Not that the book would be horrible, that the book would be so much better that I would just be like one of those guys that like watch the TV show like, I don't like the TV show now. And we'll get to that in the spoiler section. So if you've read the book and seen the show, come back, watch that. If not, stick around. I'm going to go through, like I said, the 5 different areas I rate these books on, and we'll talk more about it. So get right into it. So first up, we have pacing. This is probably one of the best paced books I've read this year. Actually, it is. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I mean, it was just the pacing is great. This action from scene 1 to the very end, it goes at a very high pace. It's lots of fun, and I love the way it just switches between 2 characters and 2 points of views, and eventually they merge together. Not too much spoilers, because I'm not going to tell you which points they are. I guess if you start reading, you might figure that out. So that might be a slight spoiler. Apologies, but yeah, the pacing was just chef's kiss, amazing. So
A 10! A 10!
let's move on to theme. You know, it had some themes in there. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It wasn't horrible. The main themes of it, I mean, obviously with any it was very political driven. At least for this one, there were some more crazy aspects of it, and I'm not going to get into that in the non-spoilers, spoiler section. But if you've seen the show or watched the books, you know what I'm talking about. You know, it definitely starts out as kind of like almost like a space crime, or not necessarily who done it, but it's definitely a mystery. And then it just goes into this whole other thing. And of course, there's a lot of politics going on as well. I'm not going to get into all that because it's spoilery, but a lot of themes around just human nature and right and wrong and sacrifice of for the greater good, things of that nature are a lot of points that are brought up. And then there's the interhuman relationships that are as a very strong theme throughout it. Eventually, saving it becomes a theme as well, but it's definitely not bad when it comes to theme, but not the greatest in the entire world. It's not that it's weak. It's a 7. It's a 7. All right. Characters. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Not because I dislike really any particular character. It's just that they're not super developed. It's not like they do anything really that I like really gets under my skin. I mean, that's how you ruin my character ratings. If like you do something that's just completely out of character and you write the character one way and then he does something completely left field, that doesn't happen in these books. So the characters are pretty well written. It's just that some of them come a little more flat. And there were some characters, and this is maybe just my bias. There's some characters I really liked from the TV show that when they showed in the book, they just really didn't have that same role, and they were expanded more in the show, expanded in the Expanse, versus in the book. And then likewise, some of the characters were different in the book that I did like more. And I'll get to that in the spoiler section as well. But just overall, the characters were okay. 7 out of 10. World building. I give it a 9 out of 10. It is interesting how the world building that James S.A. Corey uses. Now you're not building a whole new world. I'll give that away. It takes place in our world, or at least our vicinity world in our solar system. So, but just the way that the ships are described, you really get immersed into this world of space. And really feel like you understand the layout and how things work, and even on different locations, and space stations and different. I'm not going to get into the locations that much, but you get a good sense of the layout. And part of that really helped from watching the show. So as I was reading it, I was able to visualize it because I've seen it, on the screen. So, yeah. So this book's a really hard one to review because it's so influenced by the TV show. Final is plot. I give it a 7 out of 10, not because it's bad. And hear me out. The reason why I'm not giving it any higher than a 7 is because I know where it's going, and this first storyline is probably the worst part of all of it. It gets better. So knowing that really, again, makes me biased. And hopefully the books stay true to the way the show went. I don't know. Maybe it's going to go a completely different direction. But as far as plot goes, it plods along just fine. There's no major blaring plot holes, at least that I saw. And like I said, for pacing wise, it was great. So no plot arcs that really irked me, except for maybe some changes to a particular character that I didn't like as much. But overall, I really did. I thought it was good. I could probably get that 7.5. I was 8, but I'm not going to do that because instead I precedent. So 7 out of 10. Overall rating was 47 out of 65. Actually, the exact same rating I gave The Way of Kings. So I get a B, a solid B, which is a good rating in my book. Bs are good. A's are like amazing. Probably some of the best books I ever read. Like I said, it wasn't a bad book. Highly recommended. Anything seen above, I recommend reading. B, definitely recommend reading. Like, read it now. And A, it's going to change your life reading. Not necessarily your life. At least it really affects you and it sticks with you I feel like it will stick for you for a long time. I don't feel like this one will stick with me. And it's not one of those books I feel like I'll pick back up and read again. Hence why it's not an A. An A book, it may be a book later in the series will be an A for me, which makes me want to reread the whole series. But like I said, it was a great, entertaining book. Highly recommend it. And yeah, so let's move on to spoilers. Spoilers. All right, so let's talk. If you're still here and you haven't read the book, go ahead and leave. And everybody else, stick around. So let's talk about the differences between the TV show and the book. Because I'm going to start there, because that's one of the most jarring things for me in the beginning of it. Because right away, Holden's character is completely more, I guess, in sync with the rest of the crew. In the book, he's basically an outsider and a loner, and Naomi and all the guys on the crew, Alex and they all don't necessarily trust him. So this way, Holden was definitely a lot more trusted. Amos, for example, in the TV show, has a really grudge against him for most of the first season, whereas here they're friends right off the bat. And definitely was a completely different dynamic. And that threw me for a loop a little bit. I actually liked that in the show more, just because it made kind of one of the reasons why I gave the character ratings a little bit lower is because I liked that dynamic better. That he had overcome that versus they're already friends. It just a show was a little better in that aspect. Another character that I'm starting with all these negative things like it's a horrible book. Miller was great in the book. And actually in the show, I didn't like him at first in the show, and actually I liked him more in the book for certain reasons. But at the same time, there's certain things about him that irked me as well. You get more in his head in the book, and his whole entire emo thing towards the, I just want to die thing, kind of just meh. They didn't play on that as much in the show, and I like that because in the books, it's more like, okay, I saw a picture of a girl once, and I've been investigating her, and now I'm in love with her. I just thought that was really poorly written. In the book, that does it, but it's a lot more. I feel like they just dive into it more. So two ways the show is better. Some ways that the show is worse. So there were some aspects of at least the storyline that they went through and really just explained it a whole lot more than I guess you can. And that's just any book going to the show. kind of explaining how the proto molecule, you don't really figure out what it is per se or what the reasoning behind it is. I think in the first season, and I might be wrong. It's been a while since I read the first season, but in the book, it was very, very well done. At least that scene when they invade whatever station that is. Is it Eros station? Yeah. And yeah, definitely, yeah, like that. A whole lot better in the book. As far as the book and the TV show, it almost falls exactly. So there's not a whole besides minor character things like I mentioned. The plot lines are almost exactly the same. I can't think of any plot line that was different in the TV show than it was in the book. They didn't drop plot lines. I don't think they added any in the TV show either. Maybe in the TV show they Fred Johnson was a little more fleshed out than he was in the book, but I think that comes later in the later books, and they might have more backflashes, or flashbacks then. So I'm not really too worried about that. So as far as an adaptation goes, it was almost spot on. Yeah. So yeah. Like I said, I really just enjoyed the book. And if you've seen the TV show, it's exactly the same. So yeah. Go watch the show. Go read the book. It's great. I know it's not a long review, but it's really just one of those books that it's fun to read, and go read it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Is this your favorite book in the entire world? If it is, let me know. Also, make sure you leave suggestions on other books for me to read. I'm happy to read almost anything, as long as it's not something off the wall that I really just look at. I'm like, no, bro, not gonna read it. So yeah, leave suggestions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be doing more of these reviews whenever I get through this next book I'm reading. It's taking me forever because I don't like it. So it's probably my first really just tear a book apart review. But looking forward to doing that too. So we'll be back with more book reviews sooner than later. But until then, peace.